Just building off where we were at last time, we had introduced some information on the UNICEF, which is the Unified School Improvement Grant. And they, from the time I sent you guys some information on it, and by the very next day, I believe they had raised the amount from $10,000 to $15,000 for the top amount. Some of the questions, we've had questions that rolled into the district, and Stuart Chairman, he had some conference calls and shared some information that'll be valuable too. From a district standpoint, essentially we pushed it out, and teachers have reached back, and there's been a lot of questions. We have an FAQ that we provided, and a lot of the questions are centered around the confusion between what your BAM score is versus what your summative team evaluation score is. And so Guido spent some time responding to those folks and trying to help them understand that they are definitely not the same thing. And hopefully at the end of the confusion, while it might not lead to the BAM data, if you recall, those of you that are on our team evaluation committee, we moved away from the BAM data, and our structure is more generous and fair to the teachers, and they still use for this money the BAM rating of highly effective or effective, and it sets the bar pretty high. And then if you look, you don't have, not everybody teaches something that you get BAM data from. And then you'll also have people that might be not teaching in a BAM classroom now, but they have some BAM data lingering from a few years ago from where they taught in a BAM area. So a lot of different questions have come in, and we're doing a good job of getting those questions answered for folks. That we're going through, and we've had a handful qualify. I wasn't expecting the floodgates to open and all of a sudden have every highly effective teacher in Beverly Shores BAM rated. And that, of course, that's not going to be the case. But at the end of the day, we wind up with a few teachers that get that extra money in their pockets, but also going to one of our most worthy causes, our school and highest level of need at Beverly Shores, and I feel like there's some small victories to be celebrated there. So we're trying to help people work through that process. So if you guys know of anybody that needs some clarification, we have forwarded an explanation, and I believe, Stuart, you probably were CC'd on one explanation that with the BAM that Guido spelled it out. So
he hasn't sent it to me.
Okay. Well,
but he should.
Okay. He said you were CC'd on it, so I'm not sure.
He might have used my school email.
I doubt it. He usually mails them pretty frequently. Yeah. So the
okay. Well.
Okay. But I was going to say, so that same communication has been sent to the principals, so they can come to the principals, and they, principals are overwhelmed right now, and Guido explains things very extensively. So at least you guys are armed in your email box to be able to become knowledgeable if necessary if those questions come about. So we're doing the best we can to get that information out there, because it is very confusing, and people are confused not just here in Lake County, but a little bit confused across the state from what I'm hearing. So,
and there's only about 0.34 of 1% qualify. And the money is basically Title I money from the last 2 years from the school improvement grants, and apparently was never spent. Now there are some implications that we'll probably need to talk about transferring, because we won't have our newest BAM scores until probably the first week of August. So it's going to be after the school starting period. The other issue is going to be teachers who at the end of that year want to transfer, who don't want to stay at the school because the money is not necessarily going to be reoccurring. So I think that's a question we'll probably want to be talking about. And one of the interesting things is if a teacher was in a VAM subject, say at 4th grade, and they want to go teach 1st grade in a D or F school, they get the money. Because they have a highly effective VAM score. So it doesn't matter what you go to teach. You can go and teach anything and still get the money. Now, it may or may, again, depending on whether it continues in the future, who knows what the new scheme is going to be next year.
And that is where the teachers that have been calling me are confused. They think, and I don't know if this is out there or not, but they think that they go there and their promise is, if they don't get highly effective, they think they can just get effective. They don't get any money until they get that.
No, it's based on your last 3 years.
Well, I know, but that's what they think. You understand what I'm saying?
No, it's based on past performance.
I know, but I'm just saying, the people that they're calling me are saying that. And
Thinking that they have to get a highly
they have to
effective.
get it, or is that, so they're not even going to look at it.
So no, it's historic, but it's VAM score, not
Right.
practice score or your evaluation score. And that's where I'm seeing the biggest questions.
Chad, are these teachers, are these positions only positions that are currently vacant? Or can a teacher bump a current teacher out of a position?
It's to fill vacant positions. Now, what you possibly have is when new VAM data comes in, you might have people that, if their needs improvement on VAM are unsatisfactory, they might have to transfer out of the school per state law. So I don't suspect there's going to be a whole bunch of those. Last time there was only a couple, and they're placed at non-DA schools. A lot of times your teachers are not sad to be entering a different environment because obviously you're leaving a heavy lift school. But it is based on vacancy.
Because currently there are only 4 positions listed right now for Beverly Shores and Leesburg Elementary.
That's correct. It fluctuates from day to day, but for the most part, Ms. Christias is busting it to be fully staffed. I know 4th and 5th grade, she's got a couple of spots, and I can't remember the other 2.
ESC and music.
Yeah. I think she might have, I can't speak officially, but I think she's got a couple of candidates for music, so.
So if anyone knows a 5th grade math teacher.
You're aware, huh? Yeah. So that, and part we set up.
Never mind.
We set up an email specifically for people to ask questions like the ones that I'm working late. So hopefully they're going to ask those questions and they're going to get good answers, especially if it's confusing and VAM related. Mr. Zamora is going to make sure those questions get answered well. And even some folks that are not qualified and still don't have a good understanding, continue to work with them even though they're not qualified for it, so that at least they have a better understanding. Because who knows where they're going to use VAM again in the future.
And we might want to talk on the other end, bonus points for people who, some kind of incentive so that they've come into a D or F school.
So they stay?
So they stay for the year and then say, no, because my van's not whatever, I want to leave. So there probably needs to be some kind of a incentive or something to help them transfer out at the other end of the year. Which goes back to one of the discussion points of the whole transfer period for teachers and how that all operates.
that's what I have on Unisig, and we'll see it continue to develop. And like I said, the rubber won't meet the road until the first week of August. I think last year was actually August 1st when it dropped, but when those band scores hit, that's when we'll find out who's truly eligible and what it truly looks like. Like I said, I don't think we're going to wind up with a whole slew of folks, so we'll see. Another topic that came up last time was on the reading endorsement. Ms. Cockcroft, I'd asked her to come and scheduled to come talk to us today, but then evidently they've got more information that's been conveyed to her, not specifically what it's going to be, but it will be information that is pleasing. So we don't know what that means yet, but if it was going to change everything she came in here to talk about today, I could that's exactly. We'll see. So, she's.
Are you pleased, David?
I'm pleased all the time. I'm the happy guy.
So she's erred on trying to make this as palatable as possible. So basically, they've set up a way for online courses that will pay for the courses, but what they're developing is a job embedded reading endorsement. So it's within the job that they can meet the requirements of it, and so they're in the process of developing that, and they're also out of her funding will reimburse to add the certificate. The $75 to add the certificate as part of the program. So,
And I think Kirsten had some questions about that, and I know Amy's not here, but you want to go ahead and ask her questions?
Maybe when she comes, some of those will be addressed. I guess one of the questions was, if they're looking at reimbursing the $75, what happens to the people that currently hold the reading endorsement? Are they going to do something for those people? Or is it just the $75 to have your transcript read?
Do you already, for like you're saying, somebody that's already got on their certificate, it's not a bonus. So no, there won't. I would seriously doubt there would be a counter reimbursement for people that have had on their certificate. I guess
it comes up that coming next year, let's just say summer reading camp, for example, you must be reading endorsed. So I guess maybe that's the incentive, that if you don't have it and you've already had to pay it. But it comes in that these people have already had to put that money out. So if the people going for it won't have to put that $75 out.
Well, I think it's just whenever I paid for the test for my teacher certification, I paid $200 and X dollars. Now they've reduced that amount, but it's a condition of employment. Essentially, it's been placed upon us by the state. So.
And the other questions, I'm sure, will be covered with Amy when she has her information.
What I would recommend is that you go ahead and give us those questions and you put them on record. Then it'll just facilitate.
I just had a couple people ask me about the process because the email that went out said that they would be reimbursed. So I already have one person that has paid the $75 to the state, got the eligibility information back, but now has sent it to the district, and the district is giving her a whole different, incomplete answers on how to get that $75 back.
Who is she working with?
I would have to ask that. I don't know.
Well, if you want to tell them, whoever it is, they can start with us, and we'll get the questions to the right people.
Okay.
Okay. So that's kind of where we're at with the reading endorsement, and we'll all sit and wonder until they give their big announcement. So hopefully that'll, hopefully that means some relief in one direction or another. It's like I said, a lot of people already have a lot of those things met, but then it's a decent list of people who are going to have to get it. So that's kind of what I have for updates on last time, but there's topics that have bridged over into this time. It's funny, right after, the following Wednesday after we talked, they released some guidance from DOE on best and brightest, imagine that. So
There'll probably be more coming out.
so the talk that, the talk around last time where I was like, perhaps there's some freedom on who will qualify, for the retention amount. No, that's not the case. They, DOE has decided who's going to qualify for that. And, there were 3 different ways you could calculate it. And in our mind, we're like, okay, we'll take, perhaps we can approach it in the most conservative way, and that'll drop more money down to the recognition bucket where we have some freedom here at the table with those dollars. Well, DOE sent out that, no, there's now the 3 calculations. If you qualify under any 3 of those calculations, then that school will qualify for the potential of retention bonus coming in. That's a $2,500 and $1,000 retention. So, and not only did they say they have to if they qualify no matter what, the money's going there for that bucket, but also they're going to send us the list of schools that qualify. So we're not even going to be the ones who qualify. So which is a total change of pace from what they've done with Best and Brightest, where we've had to beat ourselves over the head and fuss at people about all the SAT scores and who qualifies and who doesn't. And now they've given some direct instruction. And so I've done some really rough preliminary calculations, just based on how many schools would likely qualify. Looking at about 17 schools would qualify. And,
14, so.
yeah, so it's, so we'll see when they give us the list anyway. So that can fluctuate up or down. So, but I think we're kind of in the ballpark. So we'll see how it goes. Where we thought there would be very few principals that qualify, I think like out of the 17, you got close to 9 principals that would qualify. So that's $5,000 a piece on those. So it appears we've got some decisions to make still though on where we would stand, because the recruitment is up to 4,000, so we still got some freedom to determine that up to number. And that's that's the first rung that has to be met. And then it goes down to the retention, which if you look, we're getting close on we have elementary and part of middle school calculations roughly done for the summative evaluations, which fortunately, I mean, favorably the numbers are shifting from effective to highly effective from what we can tell. But looking at those and the schools that have qualified just elementary, we don't even have all the middle. We're coming out. ESC still has to be finished and high school still has to be finished. But if you estimate based on previous years, you're probably going to wind up with about $1.5 million spent on the teacher retention bucket. So let's say if you were to go 1,000, and based on last year's numbers, you had about 200 people that were eligible for the recruitment. There's about 200,000 there, and then you bring it with 1.5, puts you at 1.8. Then once the principal, I mean, you're getting close to about $2 million of the 4.2 that was allocated to the district being available in that bottom bucket. So basically, and a lot of it hinges on what we place in that recruitment on the up to 4,000. And I haven't heard anything additional from last time that other districts were doing. I'd heard 1,000. And I hadn't heard much else what people were working on, and I don't think anybody's agreed.
I can find out.
Yeah, if anything would be helpful to drive a conversation, maybe some guidance. So if you look at the 2.2, million being left over, with approximately 3,000 employees, the only stipulation has to be based on highly effective or effective for that last amount. And then it's up to us if other stipulations are bargained into that. And whether it's the same amount for those folks, whether it's a different amount, or there's other factors that we want to involve. If you just took straight 2.2 and spread it across 3,000 employees, we're looking about $750,000 or $750 a person if it was just straight equal out across there. But it can be sliced and diced in many different ways. So I don't know. I think this money, I do believe is something that we can get done fairly early. Obviously, there's a couple things we wait on. We wait on all the evaluations to be completed. And then after that, we know exact numbers and we can make some definitive decisions. But do you guys have any thoughts on the different areas or areas there are some freedom for us?
Not yet. Do we have any scientific swag guesses on school budgets, Lake County school budget, what might be available for raises?
I do not have an amount to speak of raises, and I know we're all conversation today. We've got, tentative budget goes up for approval Monday, and
I tried to look at it and it's not posted.
yeah, it is not posted yet. They're still grinding away. So, in between tentative and final, I would imagine there's going to be some adjustments that come from, there always are. Sometimes they're minor, sometimes they're larger. So I do not have a number to quote what's available for conversation today or a structure for it.
Did you see the report released by NEA at the National Convention where Florida teachers are losing 4.5% a year since 2007?
I did not see that. But it's no doubt, you compare us against the rest of the United States, by
It's
no
crazy.
measure do we even come close to funding education appropriately. It's not even on the radar.
No, it's
Sad.
not right.
We get more students, so more money will come, but that's just because there's more students. It's not because, so they can always claim historic education funding or dump it in other buckets like
Charter schools?
charter, safety, whatever you want.
Richard Corcoran's Life Fund?
So, as the budget process continues to roll out, we've had discussions at senior staff, we've gone back and combed back through budgets, and we're looking at everything. I can tell you sometimes the little feet hit the doors and we see the numbers in the classrooms also. That impacts also as far as allocations and different things. So, we're looking at everything we can. And tough part is staying in the realm of reoccurring funding. And that's where you look at the UNICEF stuff, you look at the best and brightest, you can tell there's a bonus theme to all that. And it's not things.
Well, that's why I always ask, that's one of the reasons why I always ask what the lap salaries is. Because that's money that's already budgeted reoccurring. So to take it out of your reoccurring pot seems to shoot yourself in the foot. Because
Yeah, that's right.
if it's lap salaries, it's already been in salary, so it's already planned to be reoccurring.
Well, and I can tell you historically, I haven't discussed laps in depth with Scott, but historically, they budgeted a large amount for laps to cover the operations of the district in whatever areas they were used in the past. So, but that laps figure is, it's going to, as a tentative budget, we move forward, I mean, it's gonna be there, so. And Scott is gonna come for our next bargaining session, because that'll be after the tentative budget. So he'll come and do his presentation, and you guys can drill him up, hit him with the tough questions on budget. Because my hope is we can find more. That's what we're doing. Every day we're combing through, looking to see what we can do. So that's compensation. I don't have a whole lot to speak on direct compensation today. You'll see districts that are settling and getting contracts done before the school year. Those people have a significant amount of fund balance sitting there that they can do that. And where we're at from a fund balance perspective, hovering around 3%, you can't commit early. You've got to work it out as you go, unfortunately. Happy
We used to have a good fund balance.
Fund balance,
We did. It was,
a lot of times, fund balance is spent on increases, so I mean,
no, actually, they were spent to pay down the bonds. Because that would show us some money saving if we used our fund balance to pay down our bond debt.
I know you get into the cross of buckets there from capital funds
That's right.
to operational funds, and they'll only allow so much of that. So anything that was done would have had to have been lawful. But I mean, I think it's a combination. You've got the transfer that, I mean, you've heard the talks in the past in the budget workshops where the transfer has been high to cover things on the capital and operation. And it's a combination of reasons.
So your next area of concern?
The sub-coverage and teacher attendance incentive. Got a little information, a little bit to digest. I've got first what I would like to share is the sub-fill rates. So that kind of gives you guys an idea of just some additional data and challenges that might exist there. And then what I've also got is some samples of some incentives for buyback of time. And there's some different things that factor into that. I've got a Lodgewood language that they use, and also Pasco has a program that they use also. I looked for Volusia's. All I could find that, and Gail helped me too, is that it got shot down a few times. So I'm not sure they ever got it in the contract. So these will be a couple of cool things to look at today. And I really want to collect everybody's thoughts on it. So I can tell you what you're looking at, then we'll have a few quiet moments to digest some of this. These are separated by region. And basically you see your number, and...
Can you wait till we get them?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next.
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is for the entire year last year. It's by region, and some trends that you'll recognize is, where this comes out of is we've had talks of having trouble covering classrooms with subs, but this gives you an idea of absences and when they go filled and unfilled. And if you have absences if you have a high percentage of absences and then also a high percentage of filled, you're a sub sponge. So you're soaking up a lot of sponges or a lot of absences and subs, which doesn't leave much left over when people have a lot of choices about where they're going to work. So I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions that are going to generate your mind. First, I look at this quarterly. So take a look at it and see what conclusions we can draw.
doing both.
Okay.
And keep in mind, you got a lot more teachers, depending on the size of the school also.
So did you come up with a figure on how to compensate teachers? We talked last time about either doing it quarterly or semester or, every 9 weeks, or we would do it twice a year. Did you explore that any? To see how?
I need you to clarify a little bit more. What?
Well, I'm just saying, instead of getting teachers that remain there for like 2 9 weeks, they would get some kind of a bonus or some kind of something versus having them leave and go to the mall just because they're over it.
So you're talking about attendance, but.
Yeah, I'm talking to.
Yeah, I've got a couple of different layouts that's what I want you guys to provide some input on. And yes, some of those do. So one of the programs gets money quicker to people, but in a larger amount, and then another setup is it gets that semester you could buy some time back or sell some time. And I think in my mind it's going to like a hybrid of the two programs. So after you guys feel like you've digested kind of what this looks like, I'll pass those around.
So can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So when you see absences filled and unfilled, so what if the school covers them internally? That doesn't get qualified as an unfilled, right?
It depends. If it's reported that way, then it goes as unfilled. So that's where,
Recorded, yeah.
and also, you think about it, there's absences from instructional folks that don't require stuff also, whether it's guidance counselor or
Right.
coach. So this I just felt like this is interesting data. You're probably going to look at it 2 or 3 times and walk away with something different every time. You look at some of our schools, some of them make me scratch my head why they have trouble filling. Some are pretty obvious, and then there's a variety of reasons that lie within some different areas. You see our big red spot is Oak Park. We talked a little bit about them last time. It's the challenges of that middle school. I know the principal there is, I called her one day, tried to talk to her, and she was covering 4 classes herself. So we're taking some extra steps. When we see people hit that dark orange, dark red, or some, and we can see that there's some type of trend, we're actually going out. We've actually interviewed subs directly at the school, so we can get them closer tied to the school, so it's not cold coming into the district office and then praying that they sign up for that school. So we've taken some measures like that. Then you look at like Sawgrass Bay, it's so far down there. So this year we're gonna try and market more to the Polk County area and that line, and see if we can get some people to cross over and come and work in there, because you'll see it's a pretty tough number to fill. I can't remember what, I think the A, B, and C, it's probably just how we have them flagged or ranked. If you were at a certain threshold of fill, I think you get like the 90% fill. It's just how he had a way of ranking.
I think in here,
And a lot of what gets put out there is, we're not hiring enough subs. well, we're hiring as fast as we can. We put the posting up. The only time the posting comes down is when we've got so many, we can't even process them in a timely fashion. So what we don't want is people applying and then waiting forever to be processed. So we're constantly churning and processing subs in. We never stop. And if we do, but we do screen them heavily in qualifications. So if we see somebody who's very highly qualified and or perhaps has potential to be a teacher, we're getting into the top of the heap. Or if we have some folks that say, you know what, all I want to do is sub at East Ridge High School. We're going to take that person and get them. Come on, let's go. Let's get you to work. Let's get you in there. And not because you have some folks that are just like, well, maybe I'll try it. Those are the people we're not getting first. But so we're really trying to work for the school to prioritize some of that. So I think it's a two-pronged thing there. I do think we do have difficulty getting a sub. The only thing I'd rather not be is maybe a sub bus driver. So it's, at least I can face them whenever I'm in the classroom. So it's and we face challenges there too, by the way. But it's a really difficult job. So we do face challenges with getting folks in that want to do it. But then on the other end of things, teaching it wears you also. And then so you guys have mentioned a few times, some of our young teachers, they're like whatever. You'd like to think you put your best foot forward, you want to be there all the time, but then if you get in a position where you feel like all hope's lost, you're going to earn and burn at that point, your leave time. So I want to come up with you guys some creative ideas of how can we change that mentality, and some of it might be fighting the millennial mentality, so we're going to have to get their mindsets a little bit for some of our younger folks, but then also for some of our later career veterans, what can we do to incentivize them also? Because, we don't want to leave them out of it.
Now, we know there are some schools that kind of operate their own sub-pool and others who don't. Do we have any idea as to which one of these schools kind of has their own sub-pool, hence a lower percentage of unfilled? Has any data been collected along those lines?
Well, essentially, if they're not in the system, it's impossible to collect data on them. So that's the trouble we've had. So you've got to depend a lot of times on how things are being done at the school and chase leads on it. Because that's what I heavily suspect early on. Somebody's got, they got their old school list sitting in the drawer, and they're going down that list and calling those individuals. And I'm like, okay, well, if you do that, they still need to go request the job in the system and use the system. So we messaged that out, and it was not as widespread rampant by any means as what I thought. You might lose a couple percentage points here and there, but you don't have schools that are just wholesale operating in that direction. I think that's probably steadily improved. People don't really have a whole lot as much time as they used to do it, and that's about the worst job being the sub. Is being the person who has to get the subs in. So,
but you can still set preferred subs in ASOP. So in answer to that, and I'm not trying to pick on us, but Lost Lake would be a perfect example. We have a very low unfilled rate, but we have certain people that will come any day of the week to Lost Lake.
Well, I think,
Well,
Michelle's
you
not
have
here
a
to answer
very
this
low
question,
number.
and don't the subs get paid out of ASAP?
Well, they're still being put through ASOP.
Right, so what I'm saying, these numbers wouldn't be skewed.
No, the number isn't skewed. I'm just saying, like,
Even if you have your own
right.
power, the numbers have to go into ASAP because that's what they get paid. So the numbers are.
See, and I don't call it like our own power. We have certain people that will always come back and
Well, that's the bookkeeper or whoever's doing
Right.
it. They talk to those people, hey, we may need you tomorrow.
But the
so
teacher
look out.
goes in and puts in that sub, they can have their preferred
Yeah.
subs, and it goes straight to those 5 people first.
where we've had to clamp down a little bit, say where you might not have had a job available, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, well, nothing to Lost Lake to do,
Right.
I'm preferred, and then all of a sudden something comes available and abandoning the job to go
Exactly.
there. So we clamp down on making sure we're holding those subs accountable. There's things where
It's a big
if
problem.
you only have so much, you can only cancel on so much. Michelle's not here to speak to it, and then you're put on ice for a little bit. So we're holding them accountable on the sub end and trying to get those done. But for the most part, I feel like the staff is pretty reliable. And if anything, it will identify the trends. Is it identifying the trends to, absolute, maybe not.
I've been pretty quiet lately, haven't been talking much, but I am a solutions-based thinker. And I also believe that when I go to a restaurant, I like a menu of options. I think when we get ready to create a solution to this problem, we need to think that way and think more of a hybrid model where different schools can choose different ways. Because if it's working and we got a lot of schools that are ranked A and they can continue to do what they're doing, I don't think we need to come up with a system that's going to just solve the problems for everybody and everybody's going to do it this way. So if we differentiate it, like we ask teachers to do in a classroom with different kids, and we look at these schools that have these issues and allow them to do more of the buyback, because after all, if those are unfilled positions, I gotta believe that their sub-budgets have money left in them. So why don't you use that money to then pay the teachers who aren't making that coverage happen? But here's the thing, as a principal, you gotta be smart enough to know this is how much sub money I got, and this is how much I can spend to give my teachers, and this is how much I gotta spend to get subs.
And
Well-
along with that, what kind of, obviously there are certain schools that have perennial problems getting subs. Have we talked to the subs as to why they don't want to go to those schools? What is it about that environment that, it can't just be, middle school, we don't like, but we have middle schools that have very low.
Sure.
You have high schools that have very low and others are very high. So have we talked to the subs to find out what their issues might be?
I think we do have people that talk subs as far as surveying them. No, I haven't surveyed them, but we do work individually at the schools. And that's what I don't want this is just data that gives you a lot of data to ponder, because I do want the freedom at the schools to keep your number as high in the 90s as you possibly can, but the incentive is not necessarily to fixtures. It's not to fix the fill rate, it's to fix the absences. Because every day of absence, we're losing instruction in the classroom. That's what's at the core of the issue.
That's correct.
So that's, I think, I do think there needs to be some flexibility in whatever we come up with. And some of this tiers out, that's why I want to combine maybe the two ideas and then what we all pull together on. And I'll hand that out now. But this was mainly to just kind of show, and elementary teachers are covering for one another. And that was at the core of the issue of what we're looking at too.
But
So-
Chad, one of
Could
what
there-
we found out at Lake Mineola too, with some of our absences not covered, it was when teachers actually put the absence in ASOP.
When you put them in
When they put them in, when they put them in, when they go in, they may decide at 6 o'clock in the morning,
Right.
they're not gonna come to
Those are the
work.
ones that are not.
Well, guess what? Our chances of getting a sub at 6 o'clock and our bell ringing at 7:15, slim enough. Now, Miller will still work on it. We might have to have somebody to help cover that first till we get somebody in. But a lot of, we started looking at some of them, it was because, and then we had a couple that just didn't even put it in.
Well, and that's what we.
So when you start looking at these unfilled, for me, I just know because it really wasn't so much that until the department chairs and teachers started coming to us and saying, hey, we don't want to cover this person, and even though they're in my team, but why do they wait till the last minute to do something?
And that's definitely cooked into that data. So it's and that's what I apologize. I didn't realize that that the ABC and all that was still in there, because we're not grading you guys when we're looking at this. We're just looking at percentages and who are the people we need to have. Y'all got enough school grading and things like that. But that's why it gets kind of, when we start talking define an emergency, like we spent a lot of time in contract discussion last time, is what's defined as an emergency that's forcing, a teacher to cover another classroom. Well, it was the teacher that called in last minute with an emergency. So everybody's got their own definition of an emergency. Because I guarantee you when they called in that morning, something was an emergency for them. So therefore that emergency is transferred over to the school. So if we can, of course we want people coming to school with flu, but if perhaps they can find another way through an incentive to not miss that day and bank it so they can buy it back at semester and have a pay ability to buy some stuff back for Christmas or summer, not bad. So, and I've gotten different feedback from districts on whether or not it's made major impacts, but you know what? The people that are smart enough to take advantage of it, sometimes it's definitely working. So I'll pass around this. What you're going to see is statutory, and then that guides the policies, and then some samples. So I'll wait for that to get around. I'm waiting until it gets around.
Thank you.
Chad, could there possibly be like a tiered system, like for example, Gardner Longo School? Could the subject pay more to go there to boost that? Would that be a possibility?
I thought about that a little bit, haven't acted on it, but that's definitely been in our brainstorming list of solutions. But it's one of those things, be careful, you throw money at something, is it really going to fix it? So what we're trying to do is take all other avenues, exhausted prior to that.
Okay.
Because that's what I did say, if an extra $20 a day is going to get somebody to come,
Or to drive down to the
that might work.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might work. So,
Or to drive over the border from Polk into.
so yes, the answer is we have explored some of that. But it goes back to, if I'm scrambling through budget and trying to comb things out for compensation for our full-time employees, then it's like, but at the same time, we need people to cover the classes. So if everybody wants to just take a minute and look at it, on that, at the top, you've got, this is the governing statute, not a whole lot to it, but it does set some parameters, basically saying an 80% is what you can buy back at, and that it has to be from 1 year's accumulated leave balance. So I'll let you guys read through that. Lots was on the same page. And then when you go over to the next page is Escambia, and this is the actual application they used in their payroll. We've ordered up the MOU that they used, but we haven't gotten that yet. But some of their questions are answered on their FAQ that you'll see on the back also.
We did this in Broward County.
What's that?
We did this in Broward County years ago.
Is that what you're saying? That's what you're saying.
That's what it's
Well, that's in that model, so, because I work with people that have large amounts, I never have to worry about it.
So they got they wouldn't get it now.
All right. All right, now,
whether they need to step on that.
somebody cashes out sick leave.
What's that?
Somebody cashes out their sick leave for whatever reason, and they keep the 10 days minimum, and then next year, they have a major medical, then are they now eligible for sick pay?
I think whatever you do with this has to be exclusive of sick pay. I think that has to be included, because you still want people to be eligible for sick pay.
Yes, please.
Okay.
And here's I think this is where I see it having to be somewhat of a hybrid. Here's my first thoughts on the LCEA, the stipulations that they have in there about personal versus sick. I'm not interested. I mean, we talked about it numerous times. It's none of our business. If it's your time and it's sick or personal, people are gonna lie anyway. So I don't really see, that's just Chad's opinion.
But yeah, with last,
But what they have to understand, you know, they still get confused, that they have 40 hours of sick and 40 hours of personal. They still get that confused. They have to know they only have 40 hours, period.
Yeah, now they still have to abide by, I'm talking about for this purpose though, you know, if you've got because you've got to set a minimum that people have to hold. So
At the end of the year, they all go to sick leave anyway.
let's start with a new teacher. New teacher doesn't have anything. So they get that time first semester, they're just hitting the threshold for that first semester. So, okay, no, you're not going to qualify at that time, but if you don't burn them, guess what? If you hold them, you get the second semester, you're going to be able to sell some back. So that's your new teacher, they would have to wait. But then, if you roll in the second semester, your folks at halftime on the books are going to be able to hit both. And because I think if we almost tiered it out to where, let's say you do have somebody that's got a ton of time on the books, then that's where we have that third tier that looks perhaps more like what Escambia is doing, to offer those longer-term teachers that maintain good leave balances and freedom to buy some things back. Because I don't think it's just young teachers in this day and age. I mean, how many times have we talked about people having to work second jobs and things like that? I think we're going to have seasoned veterans that are more than willing to to perhaps buy some of that back. And if they're at work every day anyway, heck, they could buy
Well,
it.
and on the same token, we know an annual contract teacher, hey, I've got 10 days, I may not get reappointed, I might as well use them.
That's exactly how they feel.
Yes.
Well,
That's all they feel.
and here's what, if they've got that mentality, I'm not sure I'm interested in it. That, to me, it's like, go work at Target. I don't want to tell you. If you're not, if you're, the threat of losing your job, I mean, I don't really understand it. I get it if they have to use their time for logical reasons and they have issues, but if I'm just burning it to go to the beach, if that's what you're describing, then we got this.
But then the school is the one suffering, or they're having to find a substitute. So, yeah, that person's not going to come back for whatever reason, but the school's having to find substitutes for that time. That's who we're punishing here, and that's who we're trying to figure out a way of.
That's exactly, so what structure will work to address those types of teachers? Because there's other things in the background that, to address your concerns with the non-renewal of teachers.
This is a question.
We're going to work for retention for them, and we've got other strategies that are away from the bargaining table just to make sure that people are being taken care of. So, but as far as from an attendance perspective, how do we get them off of that? If that's their mentality and that's what you're seeing a lot of,
We don't want them back.
Your manager.
How do you?
So does
I
this,
know many annual contract that have been successful that we're trying to get rid of, but think they're not gonna have a job, and we let them know in April. Those are not the people, it's those ones who are not really doing anything all year long that burn the time at the end, that they know they're gonna go out the door. Because even most of your annual contract, if you've already talked to them as a principal, you're going to let people know they're coming back. I mean, we're not letting good people walk out the door on us.
And if they're not coming back, it may not be bad to not have them in the classroom anyway.
Right.
So, just something might be the better option.
They've already got that plan in their head, they're going.
so describe some of, I mean, you said that it sounds like you see it a lot or hear it a lot. Describe some of those conversations that.
Well, not at our school. I'm really happy about that. But I mean, if you follow the teachers in the state on social media, I mean, you see a lot more of that in other counties. But I mean, we're all connected in Florida. So, but at our school's different because it doesn't do that kind of stuff. So, but you hear there's no incentive for them to stay. There's too many rules, too many regs for some of the younger ones.
Well, and it's too easy to get a job someplace else. I mean, unfortunately, if you have a degree in teaching, oh, well, this county didn't work out, okay, I'll just
They're hot.
go across the county line.
Can we call that?
Yeah, Orange County, I mean, they paid $10,000 more. We've had a lot of teachers go, I mean, giving up tenure, I'm moving to Orange County. Most of
Well,
them
the
aren't
charter
there.
schools don't even bother calling them references, they just take them.
Right.
Yeah.
so would this be open to all instructional employees, whether you needed a sub or not?
I would say yes. I mean, if it's
So you're only gonna get paid now, or you get paid later?
Right.
So you just opting out for early payment?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, but they'll accrue to your retirement if you.
Yeah.
and statute sets that on the, up to the, you gotta be 15 years, right, until you get 100%.
Maybe.
So I think you got people that have big balances that might be like, you know what? Okay, I've been here, I've already got a big balance, so I'm gonna get a little payout then, and they might have the best of both worlds.
And like you said, they might only need it 1 year, and there's something going on, they need to do it. So,
Yeah, that's true.
I'm taking a cruise.
yeah. We don't have that vacation
Like I'm
one
looking at my
day.
husband, my husband teaches at Lake Mineola. The man's only missed like 15 days in 30 years, we started year 30. He has a huge balance. It might be, as we're close to retirement now, it might be worth it for him to take some time now. I mean, to take some
The
money.
difference is this is 80%, right?
Right.
And
This is
then if
an
you wait to
80%.
cap it out at retirement, it's 100%.
Yeah.
It's 100.
That's That's a big
Yeah,
difference.
yes,
If
yeah,
you're very balanced,
100%
that 20% can be huge.
Yeah, anything over 15 years is 100%.
So I will say,
Really look at it.
Mr.
Yeah.
Don't, shh, when you see him, don't say
Okay.
this. He's not
Oh.
taking any of his time.
So you only get 80% less than 15 years. And but 15 years or less, you only get 80% of your sick leave, but if you have 15 years or more.
It's tiered, there's like 4 different tiers.
Yeah, there is, yeah.
It tiers up by years of 3, I think.
Well, yeah, I remember.
It's
Not, and not all your sick leave time is paid at your current rate, it's- you get it paid at the time.
But no matter how many years you got, if you do this,
Still
it's
got
only
one,
80%.
yeah, 80, yeah.
The amounts quoted in contract are directly out of statute.
Yeah, it's in there somewhere on the page.
He will not be taking
I'm emailing that.
He's not taking
Like a
that.
shepherd, don't worry, he will not be taking any time off.
I only know one time he needs to take off.
He goes hunting every other year.
I know that 1 week.
Would this affect our sick bank?
See, I see another side too, as I'm a cash in, you know in the back of your head, you gotta have this surgery coming. So you cash in, and then you know that you can apply to the sick leave. This is where, you know, like when you deplete all the funds in the sick leave, then you have to put another day in the sick leave. That, and unfortunately, it's out there now. That they know they have something planned, they know they have a surgery, they've already said they're gonna put it off. So they cash in their sick leave time. Okay?
Well, how
But
often do
The
you
chair just
cash
said
in?
something about it wasn't gonna be connected with the sick bank. He just
Yeah,
said,
you can, the sick bank would still receive their donated amount for it to enter the sick bank. And, but then at the same time, you, go ahead.
You deplete, okay, so you have 50 days of sick time.
It says you can only cash in what you can have for 1
Statute will
year.
only let you cash in
Up to
what
10
you accrued in the
right.
previous year unused.
Okay,
So if
okay,
you subtract
Right,
what
so
you
it's
took.
okay,
so 10
Okay.
days, you could take.
okay, okay. But still, I can
For
see
that
somebody
year, you
cashing
keep-
in that, and then going in the sick leave bank, and you get the best of both.
But when you only get 10 day, up to 10 days is the most you could get in a year. But that's the most you accrued a year before is cash.
Yeah. So, say if they, so they accrued 10 days, but they still, last year, so they didn't take any time off, they had 10 days, but they still had 40, 50
I see what
days
you're saying.
prior to.
No,
So you,
But-
they can cash out they can cash out those 10 days,
right, but nothing prior to that.
nothing prior,
Right.
but you still gonna go in the sick leave bank for those other 50, 40.
But the sick bank also says that you have to use
You gotta
those
burn
that you
yours.
have before. You have to use your 40
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
capacity before you even
They are
get.
gonna do that.
Right.
I understand that. I
But
understand.
in the end, they feel like because of being sick, I would take my sick leave, they pay the full rate, and they take the 80% buyout for 10 days.
They're gonna be buying those 10 days every year, because they're gonna be depending on that sick day. So they don't need to accrue 20, 30, 40 days anymore.
Do you put in time?
You're still gonna get your time because you got sick day. And you're gonna get 8% right now for that year that you haven't had any absence.
Goes by 3 years, page 40, 41.
What goes for you?
That's provide terminal pay. Section 5. Goes by 3 years and then another 3 years, 3 years.
Do you mind sharing what happened to you?
I had to use, when I had a hip replacement, I had to use all my time up. And so I never had to take anything from the sick bank, but I depleted all my time. And then I had 2 parents who died within 4 months of each other, and I had to take care of that situation. And I got docked because I had no sick time.
Because you're gonna go into sick bank.
So people know that system, that's, yeah.
Oh, trust me,
Little work.
I have a portion of my office that has to safeguard the sick bank on a daily basis. Because, and we are, I can tell you, we're very, there, are there ways that people can work it? Sometimes, you know, but we've also, we're revisiting some of those process and policies with LCA and SEIU also. What we discovered was some things need to be updated. You know, also, we had to go back 2 years in a row and ask for another day. That was a pretty clear signal that, okay, something's going on here. Yeah, there might be years where that happens, and it is what it is, but we want to make sure that it's not a trend due to, you know, some form of abuse.
Is the sick bank the same for SEIU as it is for LCEA?
District-wide, anybody who's in
Okay.
sick bank, you know.
We need to separate it, no, just.
You might be surprised.
Yeah.
You might be surprised on who uses it, so. It's everybody partakes.
Everybody, okay.
Everybody partakes.
Sick things.
Well, couldn't we consider doing this to address the attendance issues and do it for a year? Take a look at it then this time next year, see, did it have an unintended consequence in the sick bank? And it's not like we have to make a decision and live with it forever.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Wherever we arrive, you're saying do an MOU on where we arrive, if we get there, and then we look at, hey, it's great then, go move forward.
Somebody just has to keep track of the data as
Yeah.
to who took the money, and then did they also then use sick bank, whatever. That'd be easy to do.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
not a
would
problem.
be easy to do, I
That's pretty
think.
easy to keep track
Absolutely,
of.
oh yeah, that's easy to track.
That'll work.
And to be honest with you, it's kind of like all these other programs. I don't think you're going to have people diving in immediately to take advantage of them. And I think to be honest with you, it probably would have to be an annual thing with adjustments for a few years until we recognize the trends and get it tuned up to where it needs to be. Does anybody have any other ideas? First surrounding the buyback, but then also as far as incentivizing for attendance?
I'm trying to see it from like all different sides and, you know, younger people that have kids and they have, you know, the kids get sick. There's so many different things that come into play. But I don't know, I struggle with, if you need a day off, you need a day off. And that's only fair to people. But like for someone like me, this is not good. You know, I don't think I would want this. And I'm not, you know, I'm talking personal now, but I'm just still wondering if some of the issue, if we have enough subs that could cover the absences we have, it feels like maybe we also still need to push that incentive towards the sub-pay. Pay somebody a little bit more versus the buyback here at a Sawgrass or wherever we have, you know, I think we have 4 C and D type, major issue type schools. And maybe it is structured that way because, you know, I still feel like you're going to penalize the younger families. You know what, they would never, why would they cash in? Because they don't know when the kid's going to get sick, or if you have like my husband is sickly, I would never cash in this, but I'm also never going to join sick bank. So, you know, you have so many different scenarios that people.
Well, you have to do what's best for you, but
Right,
this
but
might
I
help
know
with
that
teacher
this
retention.
would be best for
You know?
teachers.
But some of the teachers that would be, because one size doesn't fit all with this situation. And if it
Right.
helps us retain teachers just a little bit, you know.
But I'm trying to figure out where is that balance? Is this after 10 years this would benefit someone?
They'd have to do the
It would be
statistics on that. But there's a lot of other factors too. We talked about with insurance to try to get like, you know, pediatrician to come in, lower the age so that it would not affect the absentee rate as much. So if we had somebody in when the parents didn't have to take off as much because they had a sick child, you know, and a lot of the daycares now have sick rooms. So you pay an extra $10 and the child gets to stay at daycare and mom or dad don't have to miss work. So, I mean, there's a lot of things that they're trying to do to to make it so people can still stay at work and not use all of their time.
I just don't know how an incentive, the buyback incentive would really help the majority.
So we try it for a year and see.
It's,
Everybody has the option,
Right.
They
And
can
I think
participate or not.
the key word is option, because I get where it might not be,
right.
you know, chances are I wouldn't do this either, but until, I don't know, when I'm in braces or something, that summer, I don't know. But you never know what could happen. But I think that, you know, people making some professional, what I would probably say to that is if they would like some guidance or some, I know FAQs are great, but some actual consultation on it. No, we can't make this decision for you, but here are a few impacts you might want to consider as a professional. But also respect their ability to make those decisions.
Right. And then what happens for that person that, let's say, had 12 days, was able to buy back 8 of them or whatever, and they use that up, what happens then when you have nothing?
Then they deduct that money, you don't get paid.
Right, so now
But we have a lot of teachers that do that because things do come up and they've used all of their sick time up without a buyback. So I mean, you're gonna have situations that happens all the time.
So in these 2 examples, the last one is Canadian, do they have research numbers? Have they done long enough to have some?
I've got, I just ran across the Scambias, Alachua, Scott actually worked there, CFO, so he's reaching out to see what some of their impacts have been.
I
We
was
haven't
saying,
got that
if it has
information.
positive impact, yeah, if it has positive
We're
impact.
gonna see what type of positive impacts had. I think basically what he drew from what he could remember from there is it probably had more participation from the non-instructional side, because they did it with non-instructional also. And there were people that basically waited out, and some took advantage from the instructional side and some didn't. But you know, I think that's probably amidst a different context in the world of education at the time. So, you know, who knows? But,
This has been in effect since '94, so it must have some benefit.
I would say
Somebody.
to some,
and you know, if you guys can reach out to your folks, make sure we're getting all sides on it, in Alachua and Scambia, and I'm gonna continue to look for other people that are doing something. There's gotta be more people taking advantage of the statute than
Yeah.
this too.
We did at one point an incentive. And it kind of went by the wayside. Was there a reason? Does anybody know why it died? And
I couldn't find it, because you mentioned it last time, and I couldn't find.
It was a long time ago, it was 10 years ago or whatever, but it was part of, I don't know, if
99 or 2000.
I don't know if it was a grant or what it was, but you were supposed to get like $500, but so many people did it, and I think I got a little over $100. And that's if you didn't miss any days throughout the whole year. You got it. Yeah. It was supposed to be $500, like I said, but it was part of the adapt, whatever the heck they called it back then. But I mean, it was a program that they developed that was just.
Was
an
it each
extra
9
incentive.
weeks? I thought they broke it down by 9 weeks if you didn't miss anything that 9 weeks. It wasn't the whole year. I thought they broke it down by the 9 weeks.
I think so too. They did it for
Yes.
several years.
Yeah, it was by the 9 weeks.
And I think one time it was for the entire year, but other times it was like the semester.
You got so much per 9 weeks.
Did that cut the absentee rate down?
No.
No.
I don't know. I was a teacher at that time, so
I also have, as it's gone, so probably
No,
not.
because I think it was like one pot of money. It was a pot of money. And then you had far more teachers to participate and get it than what they did. So what was actually promised to you, you didn't get that full amount because you had more teachers. So it came out to be less than
Yeah.
that.
And it was grant money.
I think you're right.
Kind
I
of
think
like
it
the
was,
state that
I did
invested in
get-
brightness.
yeah, I did get the full amount a couple of times.
Mhm.
But I think towards the end, it ended up, so was it successful? Well, yeah, I guess it was, but
I'm
more
looking
people
at-
started doing it.
I'm looking at the data here, and I have a personal experience that I don't know whether it would work or not either, but
Okay.
possibility, suggestion, whatever you want to call it. There's 4 schools that are at 20% or more of not wanting to fill positions. One, Sawgrass, is just over the 20%, but, so there's 4 schools. One of my first positions was a TA. And part of my TA position at this, it was a small school, but part of that position, and I had to be a teacher at that time, because that's just what they did in the state. But my first priority was supposedly in the media center. But they called me and they would tell me, oh, you're in so-and-so's class today. So I was a TA, but I went into those classes and I covered for those classes. And I covered at least once or twice a week all the time for somebody. But that was my job. So I don't know whether that might be something that you could do, and not necessarily,
Teacher assistant job description.
but I mean, I don't know, I'm just, or something, call it something else, call it something, but give them a little more money, as she was saying, to
I was gonna
be,
say, I've got another friend who'll have an opinion on that.
but
I was gonna say it would eat up an allocation.
it would, I mean,
Is what you'd be doing, is eating up an allocation.
not necessarily, because that person would get used to that school and they would be able to then go and do and help out and do things, and that a lot of subs have no idea. They come in and they're literally a person sitting doing nothing sometimes.
What would happen to
But-
TAs that are assigned to classrooms?
That would have nothing to do with that.
Yeah, you have to stay away from the SE.
You would stay away from that, but yeah, that's really, that would have no idea, and that's why I said, that's what I did, but I mean, you could call it something else, and not pay them what you do with TA or anything else, but it could still be a little bit more than what they give maybe for a substitute, I don't know, but I'm just thinking if there was something that they could have, that they would have one person that would be there, know what's happening, a couple days a week even, or something, I don't know, I'm just trying to come up.
very rarely have just one
gonna say,
sub-position.
Correct, but it would at least help
That's what it's.
relief of some of the issues.
When
I've
I
got
was
it.
at a middle school in Broward, that's what we did. We had 2 subs that were there every single day. Because we had a lot of, we were inner city, had a lot of absences. But we knew we always had 2 subs on campus every day.
That's basically at Oak Park, we guarantee 3 people work every day. And I'm not sure she's got 3 solid people, but we guarantee, show up. We know they're gonna be absent, show up. And it's helped a little, but to be honest with you, she probably have half a dozen. So we're working on that from several different angles. It's obviously being the toughest one. We're hitting it from a lot of different views, but I'll tell you also, I'm looking at, I was approached by someone that had some workforce dollars, where they've got some grants for 55 plus people to do some work at the schools. So I'm looking at the avenues of that. You know, the main thing, I didn't want it hitting my current workforce whatsoever, but subs, you know, they're not full-time employees anyway. So I'm really researching that at the moment to see, because it looks like a pretty viable option. They're paying 55 plus people that are out of the workforce that that are fully cleared on background, up to 20 hours a week. So I'm looking at some of that maybe to help with the sub issues, and we would target those, of course.
And I know some counties are using temp services, Kelly or personnel.
Yeah,
Now,
there's,
that's not the most ideal.
yeah.
You're.
I've heard of some halfway decent experience with Kelly services, and then more recently though, I've heard that it started off well and now things are not well. So it's definitely, it's
Throwing out-
definitely something
I'm
to look at.
brainstorming here.
But I mean, we pretty much, it's almost independently contracted that the way ASOP functions and works, and it doesn't change a whole lot. It takes basically at the end of the day, it's still gonna be the district's fault for contracting with somebody that's not getting it done, or we're not getting it done. So I think the additional amount that Kelly would charge is gonna take money away from the places it should be. So the sub issue, definitely any ideas or creative thoughts you have on the subs, and anybody that ever wants to call or prioritize one to the top, we're always willing to work on that. So anything outside of the buyback that might be an incentive for, and we talked about a straight pay MOU like was done in the past. We're not sure whether it worked or not. Like I said, it's not here anymore. And then, then you're going into other funds. So, but it can, I'm not sure, like in Bradford, and don't laugh, when I set this up, I didn't use monetary incentive, we used comp time, but they earned a heavier amount in the first semester than they did in the second semester. And so we kind of tiered it out on the value of them being there every day, being more valuable as it trickles out. Obviously, with the fourth quarter, of course, you're running into testing issues and being able to partner and cover all those. But if we can have people at least, if it's work more on the front end, you just run in with your teacher that don't have any time and you're looking at buyback. But
And you got a situation where middle and high school, we can pay for those planning periods to cover classes. But yet principals are giving comp time, which is impossible to ever use.
Yeah, I've never used it and not had the funds. There's no, how are you gonna use it? Kids don't leave till 3:30 and then you leave, so you would have.
Principals will have to speak to that. I mean, do you guys have folks that use comp time?
I do, they use it, I mean, if they need to leave the other half, I may have a sub that's in there, that's coming to sub for me 4 periods or 5 periods. And then those other 2 periods, I may take that sub to cover somebody else. So if you need to go, you need to go, and if that's your comp time, that's your comp time. Or if it's a plan day, or if it's an early release day and I don't have anything going on, you go ahead and go. Plan days, if you want to take it during that plan day, guess what? You were off that day. You've earned your time. If I give it to you, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to use it. I just need to provide some time and have it ready.
But you have to use it within a week, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they said.
And see, that's,
We were told.
we were told that too.
I don't have that, they don't have to use it. I did not use it that week.
We were told a week, however, I was.
We all do what's right for people.
Yes.
Now, there might be some who are stingy, and get smack around.
Chad, the other thing that I found when I was at secondary principal doesn't work as well as the elementary school is substitutes don't get planning periods, and people think they do. So if there's a planning period that comes up for a sub,
Right.
they can go over to that other room.
They do,
That's right.
and they do. They do.
Because I knew that a lot of times subs are like, wait, that's my planning period. No.
You don't get it.
That's right.
Period of sub.
That's it. I use them all the time. We could piece a whole side together and
We
who
do.
else was there yet.
We do. This person, you might be covering this for this. If we have somebody out, we have to cover.
I don't know if there's a way to so the previous school that I was at last year, we had a very low absentee rate. And so subs didn't really want to come because they knew they weren't going to be there 2 or 3 days a lot of times. We still had low unfilled rate. But I had probably $24,000 left in the budget. At the end of the year, could that, if those teachers are willing to work together and it comes to school, could that, be possibly you split that money with them at the end? If you miss less than 5
No,
days
but
of
you
school
probably
year.
needed some, I probably needed some of your 24
You might
dollars.
That's an idea.
To all of it, so.
I mean, because you got so much members in high school, you got coaches that have to leave at such and such a time. You've got state conference that they have to go to. If they made it to states, if they made it to regionals, they have to go and be with those kids. So, I mean, we will have, oh my God, don't talk about that.
I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
But, yeah.
And now that you take over, the subs fund, your life is gonna be different.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Oh, Lord, oh, you had that much left?
I had nothing.
I
If the whole picked up those 44 days and nobody came, I would have been way in the hole.
But some of it I got back because it was a sick leave type extended period of time you could get back, but man, I did every bit I could get.
No, we did all of ours, and they're really good about making sure they hit that threshold every year.
Yeah, I see that.
So when everybody else was looking at those 44 days that one field, I'm looking at them going, ooh, Jesus, thank you. We made it.
Having been a dice bag at the test, we ran every bit of ours. We was happy with that. But I'm with Jake, though, with middle school, I find at the end of the year, we might have some left, and I'd love to pay a teacher to be a sub rather than a sub to be a sub.
Right.
I think the quality of the education the kids are going to get is going to be better too.
So tell me this, because I know at high school, it's elementary, we've established they're covering for each other frequently. At high school, I know you handle it your way. In middle school, is it any different as far as?
If we don't get one, we usually have a cadre of subs who are really good with us, but if we have one that's occasionally not filled, and we offer up the comp time to the teachers, and I do just what Linda does, and no, it's not, it doesn't have to be spent by the end of that week. I'm on, they have till the last day of their contract to use it with me, and it doesn't have to be a day where there's no students. If they got something where their kids gotta go out and sit and
I
sit
guess
there,
so.
they gotta go. I work it out and I use a sub. But I'm
Now, see,
lucky that way.
That's not the way it is in a lot of
No,
places, yeah. I wish it was that way.
Our teachers, a lot of the times, like we'd say, so-and-so called in, and it would be their team, and we're trying to get a sub, and they would be like, just let us take it, because we'd rather handle it ourselves. And then I would, if they needed to leave early or anything like that, we just always work together. I don't think I ever told anybody no. I get that.
Well, I think a couple things, I can take kind of the collective input and continue to structure more with the idea of pilot-ish thoughts of how we look perhaps, and then look for other incentives. I'll continue to gather data from these other places that have worked on the buybacks, or at least some qualitative, they can tell us what's going on. But also I've got IT is pulling absence data for us. That goes deeper than just what the sub data doesn't tell you. Okay, why are people missing? Which frame do they lie in as far as early, mid, late career? And then maybe if we can really see, okay, why are these people missing? Without getting too deep in the weeds of the business of people, how can we incentivize further if there's some reason?
And I would still want to get feedback from subs. Why are you not taking jobs at certain schools?
Okay.
I think that
It's behavior, that's
flu
why.
season.
Well, it's drives and too,
Big,
like
yeah.
Sawgrass Bay, they are told every day at Sawgrass Bay, it's too far to drive, it's too far to drive, it's too far to drive.
And other schools that are in, it's not a drive issue.
Right, but I'm just saying for that one particular,
Yeah,
it's
for that
drive.
one, yeah, probably is.
And then some of them are just more demanding environments. Let's just be honest here. It's higher poverty, more issues. There's things that go on with that stuff. So, but we'll look at, I've got some, well, I don't know. I might have some transition in that area, but I've got to talk to my people that are managed subs within HR, and we'll start looking at what kind of feedback they collected. They can probably give us some pretty significant impact right out of the gate. They can tell me, oh, this is what this one says, this is why they were there, this is what they're probably going to be able to unload on me pretty quick.
I think
I
you'll get a
know
lot
there
of
were a couple of years where the board said county office people should sub.
I can tell you, I was a real popular guy in Broward County. I put in a program that did that, and I survived, but I did require them to. Mine was more of the intention of they need to chip in a tough budget time, but I also wanted them to get a little feeling of what their roots, get back to their roots a little bit. Was there some appreciation regained there? I think a little bit, but it didn't have as great an impact as what I thought it would. And it put us behind, a lot of times on the demands. And what happened was, some people would be slammed out 24 hours a day. Some people had a moment of downtime, and then you had people that were dodging it. It wound up being a mess to manage. And at the end of the day, people didn't have time to get their district
And
jobs.
I think that's what happened here is that a lot of people were dodging it and
I wanted to rattle mine for a year. I didn't want to do it for, I didn't, and they needed to be rattled where I was at. But I didn't carry it past a year. I think I got their attention. But here I don't sense that. You walk around our district office, there's not people chilling. You know, they're all just maxed out and slammed. So it's not it, but. So I'll compile that. I'm really interested to see what we get from IT. I'll see what we get from other districts. I'll see what kind of feedback we got from subs. And next session we can pull on some more. And you guys just be on the lookout for what other ideas are out there. On the security cameras, you guys brought that up as a concern last time. I didn't know if everybody had these are the new safety policies related that go to the board on Monday for final approval. So I figured at least that would be something people could put eyes on to get a general idea. Stuart provided me with some.
here's a policy on video and electronic monitoring. But I do have some issues with it, and attached to it is a section from a contract, I believe in Okaloosa, that might be language we would want to add.
I thought you did, I know you had told us last time you were going to bring forth some language, right?
Yep, it's attached.
So I went through and I read the different FERC and labor standards cases that you provided.
There's another page on it.
One is 15 and one is 16.
This is 16, so this goes this way. And then,
We've already got that one.
This is,
No, we don't. There's an extra
oh, it's the
page
same
on
thing.
Stuart's.
Okay. But there's
This
one
has a
attached, like,
There's an
Oh,
extra
okay.
page.
Here's next.
Stuart, do you have another one that get your part where it's attached?
I have,
They're coming on.
They're on the
oh, should be around.
Okay.
These are the ones that he didn't have.
Oh, no, those are
I
not.
might as well use the other one that's.
This is
Yeah.
the one Stuart just gave us, and then there
Yeah.
was something else coming this way.
Same thing, but not the paper attached.
Yeah, that one.
Is this one that
Yes.
Places, yeah.
So there's 4 pages.
So another one we don't need.
Now, the question I have with the policy that the board already approved, it has a statement about recording plays, musical performances, athletic contests, etc. Now, for some of that may be fine. Athletic contests or graduations or board meeting, plays typically have, and musicals especially, you cannot videotape those. It's in your licensing agreement. Some of the musical performances, I believe in high schools, may be licensed music that they are performing. And there may be limitations on recording that. So,
Well, those aren't really bargaining issues. Those are, but not all are gonna have issues with that. And then some might sign and pay where they can be. I think you gotta cover that.
impact, yes.
How does that impact if it's a?
I'm just bringing that out as a question, yes. Knowing, coming from the musical theater licensing world, yeah, recording musical performances, I know schools think they can do it legally, but they can't.
You have to have permission from the parent to sign on.
No, you have to have permission from the Rogers and Hammerstein and performance.
I can say most music teachers that I've encountered that have paid for the rights to the productions, they're pretty up on all that stuff. Now, you can't stop what the parent does, but.
Sure you can.
Well, we give an announcement,
Yeah,
we
we
give
do.
every musical thing about videotape, and none of that can take place, that's part of right.
That's part of it, yeah. That's part of your licensing.
But not all, what I'm saying is, not all licenses might contain those restrictions.
For musical theater and theater performances, they do.
More security.
Right.
So
Yeah.
to me, I think this is more security and it's not gonna be used. But it would be
But-
shocking that sometimes we've had an issue that happened during a musical that we wish we would have had something to kind of show whether or not that actually took place
But
or didn't take place.
but I don't think that
And we
the recording using security cameras is not for the purpose of reproduction or broadcast or use in any manner other than surveillance of an event on our property. So it's not.
And I am getting some clarification on security cameras in computer or media centers, because we often use those for testing, and they're also used as classrooms. And we have, most of our media centers have security cameras, yet at the same time we use those as individual teacher classrooms for a variety or for testing purposes.
I mean, there's no security cameras in the media center.
Ours do. Ours do.
We don't have it in the media
And
center.
I think some schools do, and probably when it's all said and done, all of them will. But
They all will.
I think,
Some still in the books.
I would assume they're going through and putting in new cameras. I don't know, I'm not in charge of that. But what I'm saying is, if you got some with, and they're going through and they're installing new cameras, chances are.
Well, that's why we need something in the contract
I mean,
about.
I've asked teachers
Cameras
have
in
asked,
classrooms.
can you put one in my room? No, I can't put one in your room.
But no, it's not, but they're not, the intention isn't for them to be in classrooms, it's to be in common areas. And you're right, sometimes common areas are used for instruction. So I think what needs to come from you guys is what are you concerned with, and what safeguards do you feel like need to be in
Well, I
place?
propose some language there.
So it's the,
And we do know we've had,
I got this in the gym. Like, how much theft have I had in the gym? Can you put the backpack down? And thank goodness we have a camera in those big areas, cafeteria, stealing food, messing up, whatever. Yeah, in those big common areas, yes, but in the individual, but I don't have anything in the media center. But I have it in the gym, I have it in the cafeteria.
We
You have to.
don't need anything in the media center, but we do definitely need it in the cafeteria.
now see, that's a different story. Those are public areas, but I'm talking about areas
The
that are
midway where they wait
used as
outside,
classrooms as
that whole
well.
section.
And we have had situations where we've had a principal go through security cameras and try to write up a teacher for leaving her duty station at the bus lot, or bus 1 minute early,
Exactly, you're 1 minute late for duty.
1 minute late for duty.
well, and that, but to me, that's when they need to call you guys, and we need to work through that and make sure that's not correct. So
That's true.
what I'm more interested, here, are we talking this one, or are we talking recording equipment? Because because
The language I propose is not being used for discipline.
All right, well, let me tell you, from the person who runs discipline, I've cleared more teachers on video camera footage than I have consequences in the past 2 years.
Stuart, is there language in the policy that you object to? If you look at the fourth paragraph, it starts off with, any information obtained from video surveillance monitoring systems may only be used to support orderly operation of district, schools, and facilities and law enforcement purposes, and not for any other purposes. I think that's
Keep reading.
Go ahead. Require recordings obtained through the use of video surveillance monitoring equipment may be used as evidence in any disciplinary hearings, administrative proceeding, or criminal proceeding as evidence of. Cannot be the source of it.
Sole source.
Further, such recordings may become a part of the student's education record, staff members' personnel file. The board will not use the video surveillance electronic monitoring equipment to obtain information for the purpose of routine staff appraisal evaluation. I think that supports exactly what you're talking about with the language here. I think it's just another way to say what you
Well,
want.
I know for a fact, there are several teachers that called me, and they were going through the video cameras, shooting in the parking lot to see who arrived late and who arrived, if they were 3 minutes late or something like that.
And I think that violates school board policy already.
And so,
It does, and my other part to it is that, is this a one-time thing, or is this a constant thing where this one or two teachers is just never there? Did this teacher say that I was on duty and nobody saw her, and then they had to use a video camera to say, no, you were not on duty when you said you were on duty? I don't know. I had a situation where we had a discipline with a student and a teacher, okay? We had to grab that video camera because what the parent said and what the teacher said were two different things. And when it came out, it saw where, you physically did put your hand on that kid. So it did, I mean, we've used it and that came to a court's decision. There had to be subpoena. But I don't know. For somebody to be 3 minutes late,
I ain't got time to look at that.
I agree with you, but it's being done.
it's a big situation that's going on. You'd be surprised.
I want to caution too.
It's not one person, it's it's like all.
We've had situations where the guardian, not even the deputy, the guardian was viewing the videotape and thought that a teacher did something and reported them. Now, video is two-dimensional. And I think there was even a video that Stephanie Luke and her daughter put online that looked like they were slapping each other. Well, it's two-dimensional.
well, you wouldn't put something like that on video.
I know, but
I caution any exclusion of anything for several reasons. One, I'm sure at Columbine High School, they never thought a camera in a media center was necessary. That's where a lot of that happened. Let's also remember that the employees who die in these things, and there wasn't a camera to help to save their life, are going to probably sue when there wasn't a safety measure put into place, as well as wait till you see the rest of it that's coming out of Parkland where they didn't take care of what they did.
Yes, sir.
So just be very careful if you're on the side that's pushing against having security and safety video in a campus, that you're not going to set yourself up for the ones who then are sued later when they say, why didn't it go on?
That's correct. And I think for those schools, Terry, that you're getting, I just think we need to have a conversation with Chad and get with those principals. I just, I honestly do not have the time to sit there and see if anybody 2 minutes.
No,
or
if
3
you're late,
minutes
you're late. I'm not looking at a video to figure it out. I mean, we're gonna talk.
Well, and that's what, if you got time to look at the video, you got time to go stand in a parking spot and have a conversation with them and get
Those
it.
teachers will call
But
and
here, my concern is really
you can't get in.
are around,
But they just leave.
they, obviously, I don't want teachers being evaluated by things like that. And so, but as far as like protecting from disciplinary measures, I think it should be used to bird dog and follow somebody on camera every day? No, that's different.
I agree with you,
But
But who has time to
if
sit
you've
there and
got
watch cameras all
somebody,
day?
Some do.
some do.
They really do.
And the
Who?
comment is like right
But who are the some dudes? Who?
I'm not gonna say who.
Well, then you know what, the responsibility falls on you then, because you're not sharing information.
No,
with
we
people.
have-
Well, we'll share it to him afterwards. We don't need
You
to know.
know, no, quietly, you got my number, so call me up, and, because I don't want that happening to you guys, that's not right. If there are small issues like that, we can remedy those
And
issues.
then
more
the other
constructively.
issue becomes, okay, your teacher accused of whatnot because somebody thought they saw something on a video camera. they're out of the classroom for a month while it being investigated, or we go through 87 other different cameras and do 27.
But it may not even be because of that, because that parent has made that allegation.
No, this was, our guardian made the allegation. And it was, there was nothing to it.
I can't speak to that. I can tell you, that's y'all's interpretation. And there's more to every story. That's all I can say as the person who's in charge of this.
And then I'm trying to figure out, how did Guardian get access to cameras?
Ours.
They said watch them.
I know our
That-
security person.
Only certain people on our campus have the ability to go to
But
cameras.
the Guardian in
You
the
took all
elementary
that
schools
away.
is the substitute for an SRO, so
Yeah.
they're.
So, okay,
So they would have access.
Okay.
That is correct, Jake. Our high school SROs cannot get on the camera. It has to be an administrator that takes them to the cameras
See ours?
and pulls everything. It cannot be the SROs.
On his screens.
Well, then why do guardians
I'm not
have
sure.
more power?
Only the administrator.
Well, I do know about this security, and I think this is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming after the release of Parkland. I really do believe that, but I do, you know, I just,
We're doing the common areas. Common areas need to have, you have to.
I
Because that's where the majority of the stuff is coming
Bring it
from.
back and forth.
You know, and as far as in the classrooms, you know,
it's gonna be nice now to have cameras that work in the parking lot. So at high school, you don't have to worry about it, people parking. Somebody hit somebody's car, this happened, hit somebody. I mean, I'm glad now that we're gonna have cameras that really, really work,
But you can see who.
that we can see.
Well, what we need, what we
And
need
not have to
in
send a clerk and
high
say, hey,
school,
gee, can you
the
bring
way they
up
got it
these
going
photos?
now, everybody runs for a drill right up the hill, so you're just a firing line of people. I said, I'm not going that way. So I put the kids all have a whole, we do a rub over the fence because it spikes. We can get that done, they're over in the woods, bam, we're
throw
out.
them babies in the woods.
You
They
know,
ain't gonna chase y'all where y'all at.
they're not gonna like it, they're not gonna like it when someone gets hurt, but I'm not going up there where everybody's standing in the front of the school, you know.
They don't call y'all bears for nothing.
I always wondered why the bomb scares, everyone went to
The stadium.
the stadium.
Yeah, that's why everybody knows we've done that for years. Just go put it out there, that's all. You'll get us all.
Yeah, it's why after this.
That's what I'm saying, this Parkland, a whole lot of things gonna change.
I think we've already got dates established, we're running 5 o'clock now. I think this is something that's obviously going to more and more discussion. I've heard what you guys, some of your concerns are. And here's just from our perspective, what I don't, who are we safeguarding and what's the motive behind safeguarding them with any language that comes into play? You know, I'm all about making sure teachers' professionalism is appreciated and respected, but at the same time, if we've got teachers every year that are doing bad things to kids, why should we put a safeguard in for them? So that also respects teachers and instructional personnel and all educators if we're holding those people accountable. So I don't want to put restrictions on that either. But if, for sure, if you guys have instances where people are bird dogging people, just that's the things you described, please give that information to me in confidence and I'll figure out how.
And you talking about cameras and all this stuff, every kid has.
Well, see, that's why,
You know what,
if you look at my wording, it looks at that as well. The recording on phones.
I can tell you where the Tavares High was the first school that's with the new cameras, and they did not place one in the media center. Everything was outside except for the cafeteria and the gym, which already had cameras, and they just replaced it. And so that's what Julie was saying too, they showed her, and they did not show inside of the media center. Showed the entrance going into the media center.
Not in the auditorium either, it's just on the outside of it.
Yeah.
And really on the outside, saying what you got coming out.
Well, those are questions I'll have to Jim, or I'll talk to him, get some more specifics. That would
And
definitely.
we've had teachers who've been potentially written up because of something on a kid's cell phone camera. And I've had to remind them that cell phone cameras can be edited. Unless you have 100% chain of custody, There is nothing to prevent somebody from going home and editing a cell phone camera.
And I think that just is due, it goes back to, I hope you're protecting that individual with a clean conscience. Because we're gonna, if something does appear edited, you better believe we're gonna put it through the ringer to make sure that we know that, do the best we can to make sure it has mine.
Well, I know my,
You right, to the iceberg. Guys, are we
Not till
good?
August, right?
Guys,
Yes, it's August 21st.
have a great start. I'm excited, I'm looking for subs.
All right?